they're nipping at his legs.
They are definitely my attack dogs. You know, they'll scare you away, but if you come in the house, they'll just pee all over themselves. So
Hey guys, welcome back to the Making Magic podcast. I'm your host, Shaun J. I'm a professional magician, speaker, and 3D designer. And this is all about inspiring interviews with the movers, the shakers, the visionaries, and the makers. The wizards behind the curtain that make the magic for you. Now, if this is the first time joining me at the channel, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this stuff. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Perhaps some of you have already considered subscribing by clicking the red button below. You know what to do if you're watching this on YouTube. Maybe you're just listening to the sound of my voice on Spotify or one of the other podcast apps and you've already clicked follow and you're following this channel for updates. I really do appreciate that as well. It does mean the world to me. If not, why the heck not? It's so easy to do. It'll motivate me to keep doing more of this for you guys. So, with all of that being said, my next guest, his name is Adam Wilber. Adam is a creativity and innovation keynote speaker. He's also a magician and an inventor. Adam's creative inventions have been featured on really cool shows like Penn and Teller's Fool Us and have dazzled and freaked out thousands of audiences at private and corporate events. And when Adam's not performing or speaking or coming up with the next coolest invention, you could find him hanging outside with his 2 children and friends. He's an outdoor kind of guy. Now, Adam, welcome to the show. Adam Wilber, folks. Check it out. Hey Adam, how's it going? Welcome to Making Magic.
doing well. I appreciate you having me here. Nice to virtually meet you, and I'm a fan of your work from afar, so it's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. Likewise. I've been following you since your illusionist days with Pyro and the other stuff you've created. So I'm very grateful that you've taken the time out of your day to join me here. And,
awesome. Well, thanks again for having me.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So the way this show works, it's a casual chat, and I always like to open up Making Magic by asking the guest to tell me a story about the first thing you've ever made, the first thing you've ever created that you're okay with sharing, and funny stories are always welcome.
Cool.
So let's roll with that.
Yeah, that's a cool topic to start with. So I'm a huge advocate on creativity in the sense of just living your most fulfilling life, in the sense that, you know, when we're dead and gone, the things that we created or made are what withstand the test of time, right? So if you truly don't want to be forgotten, leave something worth value that adds value to other people's lives, then you'll never be forgotten, right? And that's usually resonated with poetry or art, authors, but that can be as simple as a conversation, right? A creative approach to a conversation that you've got with somebody. That could be long-standing for the rest of their life. So I never learned any or cared anything about creativity until the first thing I created, which was, I never thought to be creative, right? I just thought I was a magician, a performer. And I never thought,
Sure.
oh, I'm a creative guy, because we're
Same
never
thing.
told.
Same with me. I always thought, oh, let me give this project to someone else because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
It's a
Well,
mindset.
for me, it was just like, hey, get me an audience and I'll do what I do. And then, man, this must have been 12 years ago now. I wrote a trick up and sent it into Magic Magazine. And Josh J was the trick editor at the time.
Yes.
And he ended up writing back, and his response was the first time one of my peers, someone I looked up to, said, "You're creative." And I was like 30 at this point, 28, something like that. And it was something in the lines of, "Thank you so much for your submission. We love your creative take on this trick." And that was the first spark where I was like, my creative take? Wait a minute, hold on. And that was it. It was earbuds is the trick. And earbuds is a playing card signed, lost in the deck. Somebody holds their headphone cord almost as a card stab. They stab it in the deck, and the cord is fused in between the fibers of the card.
I remember that, actually. This Yeah, this was a while back, but
It was the first thing I ever put out anywhere as far as magic, and started in Magic Magazine, then did a contest with Illusionists with that effect as being the contest effect, and got really bummed out because I didn't win first, second, or third in the contest. And I was like, dude, without being, you know, without being egocentric, my trick was one of the best, at least the best three. And so I was really bummed out, and I hadn't heard back from Magic Magazine at the time. So I was like, oh, well, screw creativity, then that's not for me, you know, forget this.
Mm-hmm.
And within the span of a week, Magic Magazine and Josh wrote back, and Illusionist wrote and said, hey, the only reason we didn't let you win is because we want to buy that trick. It's so good. And we
Oh, well, that's even better. That's like the people who go on these singing shows like American Idol, and it's like the one who wins isn't as successful as the runner-up kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. And it was, I mean, it was perfect. It was the start of me dipping my toe in this idea of creating my own magic. And then it just took a life of its own, and I never looked back.
Great. And it was just further, it was the social proof, it was the proof of concept that gave you the motivation to keep going.
It was really more that social proof, exactly, which I think a lot of people lack is the people in their network or peers they look up to saying, even your boss, right? It's very rare that if you're in a corporate world, your boss will come and say, hey, great job with your creativity today. I mean, they even have sections of these corporate offices that are called the creative department, right? It's your graphic designers, it's your marketing team. So if you're in finance, I'm not on creative department, so why should I think creatively? Whereas if your finance team thought creatively, who knows what could happen? So, you know, I think that note of being noticed by your peers with your creative endeavors is something we lack from grade school on up.
I agree completely. That is part of what motivated me. Like, see, there's a lot of people get into our art and get into any art form. Just they want to have fun and make a living, and it doesn't matter. You know, just like I referenced with Franz Harari in episode 2, he said he doesn't want to be known as the guy singing someone else's songs. He wants to sing his own songs, and I do the same thing. I got inspired years ago in that way because I enjoyed the recognition from my peers. I enjoyed people saying, "Oh, I've never seen a take on that before," or "Where the heck did you learn that?" "Oh, I created it." So is it necessary? No. People can still make money and put out good stuff, but it's I think another level of satisfaction.
I couldn't agree more. And you know, as entertainers, we're supposed to be truthful, right, with our performance. In the sense, obviously, we lie because we deceive by nature, but we're supposed to be at least passionate about what we're delivering. So even if someone's singing a cover song, if they're really connecting with the song, you can tell. And I don't think there's a better way to connect with your performance than if it's something that you developed from the ground up, right? It's the truest version of yourself on stage if you can do that.
It's your baby.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And what was the reason why you made that earbud effect? Was there a clear-cut reason why, or was it just a happy accident, an experiment that you went, oh, this is really cool, or was there a reason why?
I watched a DVD that gave me a principle I'd never heard of before, which was rubber cement, and I just didn't know the possibilities that were capable with it. And after watching that project, it was a epiphany moment. I went, well, wait a minute, maybe this would work. And then I'm, you know, tying, instead of having a spectator, I'm tying the headphone cords to the door handle of my office. And, you know, the first prototype I made of this thing worked. So I got very lucky because I can't imagine if it didn't, I might've just been, nope, I'm right, I'm not creative. But the very first one worked. I grabbed my roommate, showed him, fooled him. And I was like, whoa, this might actually be new. Did some research, found nothing like it. And then it was just that exciting feeling of, did I just invent something new? This is kind of neat.
You got very lucky because usually,
absolutely,
as you know, with the creative process, usually it's at least 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10, sometimes even more than that. Prototypes that just go to the prototype graveyard, as I like to call it. You know, your pieces of plastic that end up in a heap on your table. You throw it out. Oh, you're gonna show something? There you go.
Right. So these are all what it takes to get to the end goal. But I save them all, right, and revisit them, and then you know, have them in little bins and go, oh, that project went through this life cycle, and
That's what that thing is right back there.
yep.
There's a bunch of stuff just sitting in there. I go, let me come back to it later. Then you open
And
it up
you
like,
will. That's the beauty. When you come back later, it's like, actually just reading this by John Cleese. If you haven't read this, this is one of the best books on creativity I've ever read.
Okay.
And a huge part of this book is the break, taking the break and letting your mind do its thing naturally. I mean, that's where most of the best stuff comes, is you take a break from it, come back a week later, and your brain does what it does, right?
Subconsciously.
Exactly right. Yep.
Subconsciously solving problems. So based on, maybe you already answered this, my next question would be, what did you learn from making that headphone thing? Was it that, was it just more of a recognizing that you were more creative than you thought? Or I'll let you answer that.
A bit of everything. The recognizing I could create new magic, which was a barrier, because I'd been taught over and over, there's no new magic tricks. They're just iterations of the old. So realizing I could create something new. And then after the peer recognition, it was, okay, now this isn't just something I think is cool. It's something that other people think is cool, that other magicians think is cool. And then I also learned the process of putting a trick to the market, right? What does it actually take? Are you going to make any money off of it? Do you go to a big company? Do you do it independently? So I learned quite a lot. You know, everything from marketing to producing to filming a trailer. It was the first time I dipped my toe in any sort of online teaching of magic. So it taught me, you know, the skills I'm using today to have my own magic company, which is
just
cool.
that one thing, right? And you never thought it would go that far, but one level leads to the next, and you just keep building.
Yep.
On all those skills. Okay. So that was great. You answered it perfectly. So knowing what you know now, what would you wish you would have told your younger self earlier to prevent making the mistakes that you had made in the past?
Create more, consume less. Be less concerned about consumption of things, ideas, other people's stuff, and just create more, you know, and be okay with knowing you're going to fail a lot. But at the end of the day, the fulfillment you get from creating as opposed to consuming is night and day. And I wish I would have known that from, you know, 5th grade on.
And it's so easy, right, to automatically fall in the consumer mode. It's easy. It's just, it doesn't take brain power. It's just, oh, let's start searching on Google. Oh, what's out there? Or, oh, let's go to the magic shop. Let's see what's already there. Or let's, just with anything, let's see what's already there and let's just take it. I mean, it takes but a second to press a button on Amazon to buy something or swipe your credit card, but it takes weeks, months, years of using your brain power to create stuff. And when you get to that end result, that is, yes, incredibly satisfying. And I have to remind myself all the time, because sometimes I get lazy and I look at my things and I go, I don't want to work on that today. But then when I start like working on it, once I hit that next milestone, I go, why didn't I jump into this sooner? Because it's so much more satisfying that way.
And sometimes if you tried jumping in sooner when you weren't ready, it wouldn't have worked. So, you know, you have to find that balance. And that's the biggest difficulty for me, is finding that balance of, do I want to sit down and wrestle with this thing today, or, you know, step away and come back? So, and then you add multiple projects on at the same time. And it's like, you know, a lot of creative minded people aren't very organized. So you're trying to balance the two of these beasts. And that's probably the biggest challenge I face these days.
Yes. I think forcing the creative process is that sometimes it's good, actually, because like when working with Paul Harris, there have been times where I told him, I said, like, I just can't keep up with your pace. It's just like out of control, you know, like how do you, and he said, sometimes you have to put the irons in the fire, and just by putting a little more pressure, like he said, I take my ideas and I put them in a pressure cooker and see what happens. That's what I remember he said. And I said, but doesn't that like stress you out? And he said, yes, it does. But sometimes you need that pressure cooker, or else the idea is just going to fall by the wayside. You're never going to make any progress with it.
Sure.
So on one hand, it's like finding the balance. It can get really stressful, but on the other hand, that pressure can lead you to a breakthrough. Like I'm sure you've had this, you know, you're going to be appearing on a show, or you have an upcoming corporate show or whatever, and you go, I want to have this end result. I want to make this thing, but the show is a week away or 2 weeks away. Let's see if I can get it in the nick of time. And sometimes
just last night, I mean, I'm doing a lecture for Penguin in about a week, and
Yes.
you know, I pretty much know what I want to do, but I was like, I want to open with something new, just something, you know, sleight of hand heavy, and kind of get the hard stuff out of the way. And that procrastination of, hey, I got a week left, I, you know, sat down and forced it last night, played for 5 hours, and now have at least a very rough but solid outline of what I'll be doing. And so I'll refine it again tonight and the next day, and you know, kick off the lecture with something brand new out of necessity, right? It's like,
okay,
make something. So I know I want it to be with cards, and I know I want it to be heavy sleight of hand. So that's my starting point. And
okay. I look forward to seeing that for sure. And would this fall under the category, because my next question, this might segue perfect, I was going to ask, tell us about something that you have recently made or recently created. And is that card routine that you're referring to something that you recently made?
Yeah, that is. But so I showed you this bin. I'll show you something cool here.
Okay.
This is something that will be coming out very soon. And so in my creative process, a lot of the times the best stuff I invent is the stuff that I'm like, you know what? I need this. It doesn't exist, but there's a place in my strolling or my set for this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there's a classic that I'm sure you know, which is card to box. It's been done a bunch of times by a bunch of really smart people.
Tommy Wonder.
Tommy Wonder's the originator, the god of magical inventing. You know, then John Kennedy's got it. David Regal's got one. Just about everybody's touched on this.
Yes.
So let me do this real quick.
Oh, okay. We're going to do a camera switch and a, okay.
So
cool.
These are all mistakes, right? One little thing off, one little thing right.
Okay.
That combined into this. So with what I needed for a card to box was that it fit in my pocket. So I used to use Kennedy's card box all the time. The problem was it was a little too big for me, because through how it works, it has to be big enough, right?
Sure, sure.
I needed it to be smaller so I could stick it in my pocket and it didn't bulge out. I also needed to be able to switch this card quickly without having to do what you would need to do with some other ones. So
right, and don't go too heavy into methods here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So this came out from the need of what wasn't working to what I wanted it. I wanted it to be a fun routine where I could have someone say, have you ever pulled a fire alarm? So now I've got a card to box with a match on it. So we've got fire. I love fire. But they get this feeling of pulling this fire alarm, right? So the magic is happening.
That's cool.
Them doing it. And it's the same idea. It's still card to box, still card to impossible location, but it eliminated some problems I had with the existing ones. And then in that elimination process, it built into, there's 3 or 4 things that I didn't expect that were going to be in this. And in the development, I went, wait a minute. Well, I could do this with it. I could do that with it. So it was this elimination of problems to form what is now, you know, even 5 times better than I was hoping it would be when I started on it. So this will be out soon, probably within the next month and a half. And I'm really excited. It's called In Case of Emergency.
In Case of Emergency. You heard it first here on the Making Magic podcast. Adam is teasing you all just a little bit. That's very cool. And that is kind of, I think that's the ultimate way to create things, by starting with a problem that you have. You have a problem with something, and then it forces your mind to try to get to that solution rather than, I guess there's another way you can create stuff, almost like as a sport, which is almost like a version of brainstorming. Just like, how many different things, cool things can I come up with? But in your case, I would think that's the most practical way to go. You say, this is what I want. how do I get there? And how can I make it my own? And thus you did. So that's...
Sometimes it's prop based, something that exists. Sometimes, quite honestly, I'll just say to my kids who are 6 and 8, I did this yesterday with my daughter and said, hey, you know what these are? They're AirPods. What would be the most magical thing you could imagine I would do with these? And without skipping a beat, she went, eat them. That's awesome. I mean, if I borrowed somebody's AirPods and chewed a big piece out of it, that would be a really cool trick. So, also thinking that we are magicians and our minds are based around this. It's that old saying, you don't get into magic, it gets into you. And it really does. You're probably like me and you can't go through a grocery store without looking at stuff thinking magic.
Yep.
So why not ask regular people,
yes,
hey, what's magical to you? And then you've got a problem that you never thought about solving, right? It's like, how would I eat somebody's AirPods? So
yes.
I like the mixture of both. I like that my own, I want this, but then also kind of there's the sky is the limit and just asking people for the most magical things they can think of. You'd be surprised what some people say.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think as magicians, and not only with just the art of magic, I think in any industry, we can get too wrapped up in our own little box of limitations that we go, okay, so we know all the tools that are involved with the magic, and we've read all these books, so we know all these methods, and then we try to take those methods that we've already learned and try to piece them together to make something. But what we're missing out on is what you said. Sometimes you just ask a non-magician, or if you're an engineer, you ask a non-engineer, how would you solve this problem, or what ideas would you have? And you just go, really? Why the heck didn't I think of that? It's because they're on a totally different wavelength than you. They haven't absorbed the dogma per se from
Exactly
their
right.
industry or their whatever, and so there's no dogma. And especially children, which is a really good point. Children, a child's mind, that's the way to go, having the child's mind. Paul said the same thing, because I've asked him about it. I said, like, how do you do this? How do you solve these problems on a regular? How do you come up with these weird ideas? And he said, I literally approach everything I can with a child's mind. And I try to just push all my preconceptions out the door and just say, see ya for a little while. Let me just look at this as if I'm looking at it for the first time and just appreciating every little nook and cranny. Rather than most people, we're just, we're used to things being the way they are and fitting the map inside of our head. And so, sometimes the answer, the solution could be right under our nose, but we totally gloss over it because we're just too trapped up in our preconceptions.
And of course, there is the beautiful moments where God or whoever you believe in just comes down and drops one on you. The kind of woke up in the middle of the night, wait, does this work? And everything sort of works. But those are few and far between for sure.
Very, very rare. That's why I keep a notebook handy, which I'm sure you do. Yeah. I don't have them super often, but I did have one a couple days ago, and it was out of nowhere. I was almost going to fall asleep, and I was like, "Oh, here's a great idea!" And it's like wrote 5 pages. It's like, where the heck did that come from? I don't know.
It's awesome.
But I'm glad I wrote it down.
Yep. One of the biggest things I tell people I either coach or if we do corporate events on speaking on creativity and innovation is that, everyone in this room has had $1 million idea, if not multiple. But yet you don't write them down. And it doesn't mean because you have the idea and write it down that it comes to fruition, but it's your starting point, and it's at least the way to grab that, what do you call it, a muse or whatever. I think the creative spark comes from not just internally, but something outside. And it's almost a disservice to yourself and society to not write these ideas down,
Yes.
They were given to you for a reason. There's a book called Big Magic by the author of Eat, Love, Pray. And she talks a lot about the spiritual side of creativity. And it's almost unfair for you to not flex your creative muscle when people are tickling you with it. And that all becomes practice. You write every single thing down. At some point, you get better at ideas. You get better at filtering out the ones that are garbage and the ones that, stand a chance. One thing I used to do for creativity besides magic was to Google the top 100 searched terms for how to. So if you can look and see how many people have Googled how to fix a faucet, and there's a top 100, and that can change month to month, year to year, whatever. But if you're an inventor and not just an inventor of magic, but you want to invent a problem, a product. You want to solve somebody's problem. That's how you invent a product, right? Something
Yes.
that serves a purpose. So if you now have the top 100 list of people's problems, again, you're now outside of your magic world, right? It may be how to fix a faucet, and you might do a little research, and we bring something from the magic world and going, hey, whatever, a thumb tip might work for that, whatever it may be, right? Something we know as a magician.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way to get ideas outside of magic as well, where again, when we're dead and gone, if you can invent something, the story of the guy who invented the choker, the D choker that saves kids' lives, was out of necessity. It had nothing to do with this.
The D choker? Do you mean the defibrillator thing?
No, it's called a D choker. It's
the D choker.
Instead of the Heimlich, you can put this mask on and it sucks food.
I wasn't aware that there was a thing. Okay, now I know. All right.
But his process again was out of trying to solve a problem. So he didn't mean to invent something that blew up and sold a bunch of units. He did it out of, hey, this isn't my field, but I need to solve this.
That wasn't, his goal wasn't, let me make a product to make millions.
Right. And it's hard to make money with going into it that way, even in magic. I'm going to make a product to sell a whole bunch. People see right through that, man. You know, it's usually a subpar product that's oversold, overhyped, and people get pretty disappointed with. So
yes, and in the case with what you're doing there, with your inventions and things, it's very clear that you care about each thing that you're creating, because it's mostly to solve some problems that you're having, and you're like, well, what if I can come up with something better? Let's just see if it works for me. Boom, I just did it. Now, since it fits all that criteria, then you have right there good proof of concept that it's something worth releasing to the magic community.
Yeah. And, you know, not every invention, when you work at a big company, sometimes it is pop it up, get it out there, you know, and you don't get to just only put out the stuff that you want, because it's a big machine, right? Even in corporate world, you're forced to have timelines. So, you know, being able in a place where, like Paul Harris is a great example. He could never create another thing for as long as he lived and be okay. But that frees him up to only create the stuff he wants to create and not the stuff he has to create. So that's a big lesson I've learned over the years, is to try and quality over quantity, basically.
Good, very good. And here's a different avenue here. What, but along the same line, since this is all about creativity and making, what maker techniques would you say you are best at?
Maker techniques. That's a good question.
Because I don't know. I don't know really anything about the backstory of, let's just say, pyro, for instance. Was that something where you had the idea and you had other people help you, collaborating, other people with different skill sets to make the finished product, or was it just you on the whole thing the whole way through?
So that's a good question. And I think the easiest answer as far as what I'm best at is resourcefulness, right? So if I want to get something done, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And I don't know how to do electronics. I don't know how to solder electronic units together. I don't know how to do remote controls. I sure as heck don't know how to mold things and stuff like that. But I have enough knowledge in enough areas that I can either delegate things out, or use my resourcefulness to say, here's the idea. How do I, in the least expensive way possible, get that idea to a concept, a prototype, and then from that prototype, bring it to market? Because those are all very important things if we're creating to sell to other people. And I think my biggest skill is that sort of resourcefulness. Pyro is a great example. I had the idea, and there are things that existed already. So I took a bunch of the things that existed already, made a very detailed video and brief, right, a creative brief, and sent that to some prototypers. One piece of advice, anyone trying to create, which I'm sure you know, anytime you do that, make sure an NDA is signed, a non-disclosure agreement. You may think this person's your best friend, and I have seen it firsthand, where friendships are ruined because there wasn't the clear communication before a project started. And that is a bad way to start any project.
Yes. Just yes and more yes.
It was a long way to say resourcefulness, I think, is my strong suit.
No, that's good. That's good. I think a lot of creative or artistic people lack resourcefulness. It's something that I was not good at early on because I wanted to do everything myself. And you quickly realize, or
Why?
maybe, I'm
Why do
sorry?
you think that? Why do you think that you wanted that? Because I hear that a lot from a lot of my creative friends, is that no, I just wanted to do it all myself, and they end up slowing their process down. What do you think it is about maybe creatives in general where it's like, or is it magicians? Is it magicians being nervous that if we have other people help, that they'll, take it? What do you think it is that made you want to do it all yourself?
Both. So the first answer for me was that I was under the impression, I was under the limiting mindset that I was the only one that knew how to get that project done in the best way. So let me just do it myself, because if I start asking other people, it's going to just waste my time, because then I have to explain everything to them. And sometimes that's actually the case. That's why delegation is, I think, an art, because you can waste a lot of time if you're trying to delegate to the wrong people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Or if you're not clear in what you're trying to delegate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you delegate an electronics problem to, a quilter, and it's like if you had a quilting pattern, they could rock it out, but electronics, they don't know what they're doing, and it's just going to waste time. But they might be your good friend, but it doesn't matter. They don't know what they're doing. So that's part one. And part two, as far as the magic and the secrecy and the, I hate to say, I mean, the truth of the matter is it's very hard to find people, at least in the magic industry, that you can trust that won't rip off your ideas, because you've seen it, I've seen it. It's so easy in magic, and there's very little repercussions for ripping off people's ideas, because ideas, although they could be copyrighted and patented, you still can't prevent anybody from doing what they want with them. I mean, that's why I'm sure you as a creator, some of your best-selling products, you go for a record run, a couple months down the road, you go, hey, in all these other countries, you have the thing with your cover art and your whatever slapped all over it, and then you look at it and it's a piece of crap product because people are knocking it off.
Pyro's the perfect example. There were multiple Chinese companies that took all of it, marketed, I mean, everything, right? Which Illusionist spends thousands of dollars. Have you seen the trailer for Pyro? Peter McKinnon did that, and that guy
Peter is like National Geographic style.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. And that's the good side of that, is that's the stuff we can get taken down and claim and stuff. But I saw it. Pyro's $150. I know how much it costs to make. That's a fair price for what it costs to make that thing. It's safe, it's reliable. So these guys come out with $18, $19 versions using all of it. So of course I buy it. I'm going, if they can sell this for $19 and make a profit, I need to find out who these people are and start using them as prototypers. Well, come to find out, it is nothing like Pyro, and it's an extremely dangerous unit, which now they're using Illusionist and my face to advertise an outrageously dangerous product. And it's like, you can't, what are you going to do? Go to China and fight them in Chinese court? Good luck.
Nope. I talked to friends that have had, well, here's an example. You know who Rocco is, right? Of
course, yeah.
Delights. Okay, so Rocco and I have been working on some stuff together, and he told me his whole Delight story. And basically, the summary was he got a patent that lasted for, I think, if I'm correct, 20-something years.
Patents are 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, 20 years. It was a lot of money for that patent. But to get an international patent is even more. And then even at that, he said, and I've talked to lawyers about this, good luck. Good luck going to China, good luck going to whatever, because all their rules and laws are different.
Exactly right.
You're kind of limited by the amount of continuous money that you're going to be pouring into lawsuit after lawsuit and problem after problem that you're probably not going to solve. And let's just say you do. Somebody else is going to crop up and do something else. And it's just like, how many bugs can you sit there and squash? Then it takes away from your own creativity and your mental bandwidth.
Floating deck back there?
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
It's called Phantom Display.
Beautiful.
And I put that out with Illusionist. It's an Erdnase book, and inside of that is the electromagnet, and it floats it. It's super cool.
Beautiful.
We sold a bunch of them. And the way the woman whose husband owns that patent does it, because I went to China And there's a whole bunch of Alibaba places that do floating displays. I wrote a bunch of them, again, going back to that clarity and brief. A lot of the prototypers that I use are out of China, which means English is their second or third language.
Sure.
So clarity in your brief is talking to them like they're 10 years old. And it's not disrespectful, it's for clarity purpose. But I sent a bunch of briefs out saying what I wanted. I got a company that said we can do it. They did it. It was great. We sold it on Illusionist. It blew up. Everyone loved it. Then I got an email from this lady that said, hey, that's my husband's patent.
Oops.
Oh, well, we didn't make it. We buy it from a Chinese company. And she said, great, we don't care. Anyone who sells my husband's patent in the United States, making money in the US, they go after. So they don't care about China, overseas. They just focus solely on sales in the US, which Rocco could have done as well. Any company that's selling products in the US is infringing on his patent. So you don't need an international lawyer. You need your patent lawyer. And it's going to be a full-time job, especially for something like D-Lights. But then every single company, that's all this guy's wife did, was track down people who were selling this illegally.
It's a full-time job to do that.
But she's making bank off other people's commissions because they're breaking the law in the US. And she says, keep selling it. By all means, that's a great device. We'll take 37% of all sales for the next 5 years. We want our back sales. So there's ways around it, but it is, it's one of those things where, a magic trick has about a 6-month shelf life. And if it's a bestseller, good luck trying to compete with China after that 6 months. And these days it's more like 3 months. I mean, they're knocking things off so quickly. It's like, you might as well not put the thing out, but again, I'm still a believer in we're putting these things out to make it better for other people. So if it's ripped off, if you're doing it for the money, you're probably not getting your best creative endeavor. You have to excuse me. My dogs are freaking out because UPS is here, so I apologize in advance.
That's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, those are his attack chihuahuas.
That's right. Exactly right.
In the back, I know
Exactly
he's got these very ferocious, evil, they're not evil, they're very cute. The pictures that I've seen of them, and they're nipping at his legs.
They are definitely my attack dogs. They'll scare you away, but if you come in the house, they'll just pee all over themselves. So.
You open the door expecting a Doberman, and then you look down. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, we've got an appetizer instead. Yeah.
Squash. Okay. Cool, man. No, that's all good. This is live. This is good. Live is live. What maker techniques are you excited about learning this year, if any? Or are you just happy with the way you're rolling and just got in a flow?
I'm a huge advocate on always be learning, right?
Yeah.
If you're not learning something new every day, in my opinion, you're wasting part of that day. So I'm just being turned on to vacuum sealing and vacuum forming.
Okay.
There's a Kickstarter project with a vacuum form machine that's pretty reasonably priced. There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And that could speed up a lot of sort of the mold making prototyping stuff that I've never played with. And I'm excited to start dipping my toe in there. Okay.
That's great. I think you've already answered this, the favorite thing, prop, gimmick you've designed recently? That was, you'd probably say the fire alarm card box thing?
No, it's a different one, but I'm not going to touch too much on that yet. That'll be out soon. I'll put it this way. It's my version of Ash on Palm.
Okay.
Using some, we came out at Volpine with this thing called Genesis System, which is a new way of using thermochromatic ink.
Yes, I've seen.
It's pretty wild. So
I've seen, but for the people that are just listening, I'll let you just briefly describe the effect.
Here's I can't do it here, but basically one of the projects we're doing with thermochromatic ink is, I call it Shoulder of Giants, and it's a poster of all the greats in magic, Vernon, Marlowe, Doug Henning, everyone you could imagine, Tom Sini and company, and they're all sitting at a table playing cards.
Okay.
And then this is in a picture frame, and there's a little wand coming out of 2 arms in the picture frame. So when you lift the wand up and tap the painting, I'll show you what happens. We reveal what's going on, right? We're sort of pulling the covers back on the secret of magic. So,
he's lighting it up right here. Oh, lift it up just a touch. There we go. Ah, very cool.
So the idea is simply, it's thermochromatic ink, but used in a formula. The formula is what the hardest part, and then printing it out. But basically, we're using the ink for appearing. It used to always be a magic friction pen. You'd write something, you'd heat it up,
Yes,
here,
and it
and
goes
that's what
away.
this is. But the heating panel is hidden into the picture frame. So this is like a desk work of art type thing. Whereas the Genesis system as a whole is pulling something out that's blank and having that magically appear. So we've sort of reversed friction ink, and now it's an appearance as opposed to a disappearance. And we've mixed that with some really cool printing procedures we came up with, and came up with help from a friend who really kind of mastered this. And it's the tip of the iceberg, but it's called Voodooist, and it's my ash on palm, but it uses that special ink as well as some really cool methods of doing the dirty work.
Doing the thing. Cool, man.
Really excited about that, just in the reactions it gets. I mean, double cross, ash on palm, that kind of thing it's hard to beat. So I'm really excited about that one.
There's a reason why the classics remain the classics.
Exactly right.
It doesn't matter what version you do, just any take on it, I think, is very powerful, because the main concept is just hard for your audience to grasp. It's very powerful. So yeah.
And you got to think, we've got hundreds of years of people, probably a lot smarter than us, whittling down what makes a classic. And now we get to stand here with all of this knowledge going, all these greats have come before us, and here's the 15 that they all say are the best. So, you've got to put a lot of weight on that. I'm not sure a lot of the younger magicians do, but that's fine. You grow into that, right? Like we all do.
Yeah, and it just leaves more room for growth for us
Exactly.
who want to dabble in it. It's like, oh, you're going to ignore that? Okay, fine. That's my game now.
And then that turns into opportunity for education as well, right? Because we invent or put our take on a classic, then people who may not have ever stumbled upon that, if you do your diligence and you're teaching, you can say, hey, this stems from so-and-so. You should do your research here, there, and there. And
yes,
it's a good way to educate people that, looking back over the past is how we invent the future,
Yes. Speaking of the past, actually, what would be, maybe it was the earbuds, or maybe you have something even more specific. I was going to ask, what would be the favorite prop, thing, gimmick, design that you made in the past? Your favorite thing that you made from the past?
I have two answers for that. One is Decibel, because it was one of the best-selling magic tricks and highest grossing magic tricks of all time. It made...
Really?
Yeah. I can't say the numbers, but it made more money than... it came for me at the right time, where I needed to solidify my place at Illusionist and have a home run, and it was beyond a home run. So I like that, but Pyro's not something I perform. In my keynote speeches, I use it to explain creativity and innovation. I don't do it in strolling and stuff. But the one that I really was proud of because of the process to get there, which was about a 3.5-year process, is Decibel. Decibel is a way of going to somebody with headphones and saying, think of your favorite song. They think of their favorite song. You show your hands empty and you hold just the tip of their headphone cord.
Oh, yes.
And that song they're thinking of starts
beautiful.
Playing. That's probably my favorite to date of the past, just because the reactions you get, almost everybody knows the first song they memorized every word to.
Sure.
So when you can bring them back to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like a nostalgic, beautiful moment, right? We fell in love with these songs for a reason, and now we get to bring these people back to that moment in a magical way. So that's probably my favorite of the past. Decibel.
It's a huge emotional connection.
Yep, music and smell. There's nothing more powerful for your emotions, in my opinion, than that song that makes your hair stand up, or a smell that brings you back to your childhood.
That's a great way to tap into all that. Check out, magicians, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, check out Decibel, please. It will make...
I'm sorry, you can't. It's out of...
Oh.
That's a horrible plug for it, because it's not available anymore.
Okay. Well, I can cut it out. I can cut out what I said.
No, it's fine. Check it out. The trailer's still there. The trailer goes into... you'll see why I love it so much, but you just can't purchase it anymore.
Oh, okay. Adam couldn't stand magicians doing it wrong. He just had to say, I want this.
Oh, you know what? In all honesty, It's because of these. Because nobody has wired headphones anymore. Everybody has wireless headphones. Yes.
Well, that's your next creative challenge, isn't it, Adam?
Got something in mind? And it's not by chance. I believe the universe puts things. It's not by chance. My daughter said a cool thing to do would be eat these. So there's definitely some stuff coming for wireless headphones for sure.
Your daughter is, and your kids just in general, they're adorable, by the way. I've been following.
Got a good-looking milkman.
You know, Adam, for those of you who don't know, Adam posts occasionally pictures or videos of his kids helping him out, either packaging stuff up for Volpine Industries, your new company there where you're releasing magic effects, and his daughter is just a character, whether it's shooting a BB gun, which I've seen.
Yeah.
He's teaching her how to shoot a BB gun. He's taught her how to do some magic with some cards. I saw that throwing it up in the air, and man, she's gonna be something when she grows up. How are you gonna handle that one, Adam?
I don't want to think about that until I have to, but I think as long as you raise them to know their worth, right? Raise them to know what their value is and that they should never settle for less. You got to let nature take its course after that. Love them and tell them that they're secure and they're safe, and let them know their worth, and then hope that the world takes care of the rest.
I think she seems to be very independent, and she will have a good firecracker. Yes.
You can see all the gray in my beard here. That's not by chance. That's for sure.
that's from getting too close to the fire. Let's just say, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. You don't want to burn your eyebrows off next. So, what would you consider your biggest DIY fail of all time? And without, I guess, revealing methods or whatever you're comfortable with sharing. A lot of people have funny stories when it comes to this. It's okay.
It's a funny story because it's sort of a success story after the fact. But
no, that's good. That's really good.
Actually, it's right here. So I invented this thing called a fiddlestick. It was right at the time. This is a great example of inventing something to make money. And remember, fidget blew up a couple years ago, right? Came out of nowhere. Her patent ran out and it just exploded.
Yeah.
So I invented this as that, jump on this craze. It's cool. It's a cool little thing, and it's a neat toy, and I do use it all the time, but it was a huge bust. And we spent a boatload at Illusionist. And it was like I had to kind of fight some of the guys and be like, no, we should put this out. I feel it's going to work. And it just didn't. It was a huge flop. It was late to the market. The craze has ended. It was just a master disaster. And I spent a lot of time and energy and meetings and trying to convince people.
It looks really nice.
It's cool. I mean, if you like fidget toys, the big innovation was I put a loop on it so you could flip it around like keys. And it was neat, but timing was off. So that was one of my worst things that I've invented and actually put to market. I don't ever consider something in the prototype phase or idea phase as a failure. So
right.
I don't think I have that. I think my biggest failure was this until, this year, Brad messaged me and said, dude, Fiddlestick's doing really well. So, sometimes you just have to sit. It's 3 years later, but sometimes you just have to sit on things till they.
So it's technically kind of coming back a little bit then.
Yeah. It's been slowly gaining. Now they dropped the price. They're not making any money off it, I don't think, because they dropped the price to the point where it's very inexpensive. It's like $10 to get one of these.
Okay.
So maybe it's not a success in that fashion, but at least it's not sitting in the Illusionist warehouse causing them rent and inventory space.
I was just gonna say, at least it's moving.
Exactly.
It's moving.
And I'll be honest. I mean, I've gotten half a dozen emails from people that have thanked me for this. Some guy was autistic and it really helped him focus. Another guy had severe ADD. A few people have reached out and just been like, dude, thank you for inventing. One guy was stopping smoking and he was like, dude, I couldn't have done it without this thing. So again, sometimes our biggest failures are still inspiration or products that can help other people.
Yes, and I don't think all in all, when you look at the whole thing, I don't think it was a failure, because I think when you get stories like that and hear those things and read those emails, to me, that just factors into your whole quotient of the pie chart, getting inspiration, getting motivational feedback from people. And I think that's probably the most useful thing that's happened from the pen.
Absolutely.
Which then feeds into your larger line of successes and things that you feel more comfortable with. So it helps in the
Absolutely.
It's probably a psychological boost to keep you on the right track.
And everything's a lesson, right? I mean, learning about timing of product releases and being late to a trend and all those things. So it's just development for future releases. I just got lucky that it somehow gained some steam after the fact, which is cool.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. What inspired you to be a maker or an inventor? I don't know if we already touched on that.
Earbuds. That was earbuds. I mean, honestly, I never even thought twice about it until Illusionist said, we want to buy this. And I was like, whoa, hold on. Wait, I can do this too? And that set a fire that just hasn't gone out.
Who inspired you to be a maker? If there was any person or people that you want to acknowledge, recognize, if you think of off the top of your head.
I mean, I have the people I look up to that inspire me. There's, Paul Harris, David Regal, Tommy Wonder, Bill Malone. There's the people that I look at and frame what I do or what I love around. David Williamson's, little pieces of all of them and try and, pick what works for me. So the people that really inspire me are the ones that have put out a large catalog of magic that's very diverse in what it is. It's not all cards, it's not all stand-up, and have a personality that matches, where it's, somebody that they say, if you want to be good on stage, you want the audience to want to have a beer with you after the show. And I think all the people I kind of look up to in one way or another are so intriguing that it's like, you know what, I just want to
all the names that you mentioned are very intriguing.
Yeah.
People, just a person. They're rich people. They're not shallow people. It's once you start talking, you go, wow, it's not just what I know them for. It's all this other interesting stuff.
Exactly. And what I know them for comes from all of who they really are, coming through in their products. So like Paul's the most eccentric, creative, kind-hearted, hippied out, just cool dude. And look at all this magic. That's exactly what it is. So, I like people that inspire, and then usually their products follow suit. It's like
a reflection of who they are.
Exactly. You can't fake awesome,
Yeah, you either are or you aren't.
Yeah. Period. Exactly.
It's not authentic. Authenticity is very, very hard to fake. Even the people who haven't been out there, even if they're not street smart, you can just kind of tell. It's just like, what's wrong with this dude?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this chick? They're not authentic.
Yeah.
Is there anybody in particular besides magic that you look up to, perhaps in the maker space, when it has nothing to do with magic and has to do with building things?
Sure. Mark Rober on his YouTube channel is amazing. There's a guy named Steady Craftin on YouTube. And I mean, as far as inspiration, again, just do yourself a favor and check out Steady Craftin, the Craft Man on YouTube.
I'll put a link to that.
It's awesome.
Down here.
I mean, those kind of people that are doing it for the love of doing it inspire me. A lot of YouTube stuff. There's a guy called Marlin Bates, and all he does is make fishing lures. These are all things that I'm probably not going to use in my magic, but I've taken bits and pieces from all of them in prototyping phases and stuff like that. And you can tell they're doing it because they love doing it. And that's what excites me, right? You can see their passion behind it. So
totally. And I was listening. Am I dreaming, or is that guy who makes fishing lures, his last name actually Bates?
I don't know if his last name's Bates. His YouTube channel is called, I think it's Marlin might be his last name. But
okay, because I'm going to say
no, his company's Marlin Bates. That's the name of his company.
I was going to say, that's like the perfect last name for a guy who develops fishing lures.
Right. No, I don't. I actually don't even know his name, but he's fun to watch, and he's a super creative guy that's really perfected what he does, which is taking wood and turning it into fishing lures.
Okay. Yeah, and it's always good, just as a general concept, just to kind of summarize what we've been talking about here. Adam has constantly mentioned the importance of looking outside. We've talked about it multiple times so far. Looking outside of whatever industry that you're in and getting inspiration outside of that, because it's so easy to get locked in that, whatever that frame is of whatever industry you're in. And then you forget all the other beautiful possibilities that are actually out there.
I mean, that's creativity, right? Is connecting things that normally aren't connected. And if
Connecting
all
the
you do
dots.
is live, eat, and breathe magic, well, that's pretty connected. But if you step outside of that and start dabbling in something else, you're going to take things that cross over and you can use to both. So it's, you learn as much as you can. Don't be a master of them all because you don't have that kind of time, but learn enough about them that you can at least get ideas from them. That's
Yes.
that learning every day, right? Be inspired to learn something new every day and see where that leads you. And it's
Yes.
cliche, but it's sad. I mean, not everyone does that. You think, of course, people learn something new every day. It's not the
No,
case.
I would venture to guess that most people don't learn something new every day. Most people are creatures of habit. Most people like regularity. But what we're saying, me and Adam are saying, make that learning something a part of your habit. Just add that to your habits, and it's a healthy habit you can add that'll make you a better person, a better creator, and just a richer life in general.
And it's easy. Instead of a Netflix binge, spend that hour looking on YouTube. Just type in DIY on YouTube and spend an hour a day doing that, and you'll be surprised what you come up with.
Totally. DIY Perks is another good channel. British guy. That stuff that he does, I mean, it's like I watch it just to admire, first of all, the video that he does as pro, and then the project that he does, he pulls together, like, it's usually very cheap materials, which is proof that, again, and I've said it in past episodes, it's not the paintbrushes that make the painter, it's not the piano that makes the pianist or the musician. It's always just your know-how and your passion and your willingness to learn. And you could take cheap stuff and turn it into a beautiful thing, just like DIY Perks, just like any smart person like Adam who's in the prototyping process all the time. You're just looking around, being open to all the possibilities, and then you're pulling in all these resources and making something beautiful.
A great app that I highly recommend is called IdeaPad. So you'll see the little orange app there, IdeaPad. And it is just the user. It's the most simple thing you can imagine. You can voice memo. So you're going to categorize. So I'll do, personal development might be a title. Magic ideas might be a title, marketing ideas. And as quick as you can, you hit it, record the idea. And then every month, usually between the 1st and 5th of the month, I go through, reread them, delete the ones that I don't love, and just keep doing that. And I mean, it'd be nice to carry a notebook and pen and pad around, but it's just not practical for me. So having that on my phone is, I mean, the last 20 projects I've created have all started as an idea in IdeaPad.
Oh, that's good. That's a secret that's worth the price of admission to Making Magic, folks. IdeaPad. It's simple. Is it free?
I believe, or it's $3 or something like that. It's very inexpensive. Again, it is very simple. It's not pretty. It's not flashy. But that's why I like it. I hit it, I record, and I go back.
Done.
And push it through. Yeah.
Done. IdeaPad. Check it out. I'll put a little thing here below. So yeah, I mean, we talked about IdeaPad, which is an amazing thing that just lets you get your ideas down really quick and easy. Are there any other resources that you'd recommend if there's anybody out there interested in learning more about any of these type of creative skills that we've discussed? You would recommend?
A couple great books. John Cleese on creativity. There's a boatload of books on creativity. So really learning about creativity. I've got a book on creativity that you can get for free. So actually, we can offer that to any listeners if you want. I'll work with you and just getting a PDF download of it. But the whole thing is live a more creative life. But then just YouTube, right? I mean, anything you would ever want to know is on YouTube.
Pretty much.
So go to the highest viewed count one, so you're not looking at garbage, and that's usually a good filter on what the better videos are. So I never knew about 3D printing. I got a 3D printer. My dad was kind enough to buy me, and I learned how to do a little bit on.
Thanks, Dad.
Just enough for me.
Right.
And it's all from YouTube. YouTube's a big one. I also look at Kickstarter a lot and see what like design. If you go to design and tech, there's some really cool idea sparks in there. Pinterest is a godsend for me. Pinterest, type in anything you're interested in. So right now I'm working on a new display. I want a Volpine display.
Okay.
So if you go to Pinterest, I'm typing in levitation, electromagnet, cool display, optical illusion display, and you just get this variety. I mean, a bunch of, first they're just images, and then you can click to go to the page. So Pinterest is for me. And then lastly is, it's a silly thing, but I use it all the time when I'm working and trying to get into the creative state, is called Coffeetivity. And Coffeetivity is a website that sounds like you're at a coffee shop with murmuring in the background. So you could go to Paris and have murmuring coffee shop in Paris. And it's a really cool way to zone out, throw your headphones in.
Okay.
I find with music, you can get into a groove, but a lot of times music is very influential, right? So
Yes.
if you're into sad songs, maybe you're sad. So if I'm really in that, all right, muscle down and get creative, brainstorm, I'll go to Coffeetivity and just zone out. And it sounds silly, but it's extremely effective, at least for me.
Well, I know it's effective for you because you're an audio first kind of guy. That's your preferred modality. And people need to be aware of what their preferred, what their best way of learning and what the best senses that they can cater to. Some people are more visual, I'm pretty heavily on the audio side myself. I listen to music all the time. If I have zero music on, like when I'm trying to like clean up around here or file stuff, I feel like anxious. Like, what do I do? Where do I start? It's like, and then I start like looking around, like I start freaking out. Then when I put on music, I'm like,
where's my life soundtrack? It seems to have gone off. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I'm the same way. So but that's a new one I never heard. So it's like a virtual coffee shop. That's kind of where
really cool. It's really, really cool. And they put some science behind why it works and all that. But the free version, you get like 3 different coffee shops you can go to. It's online. You just go to coffeetivity.com and it's there and played in the background. It's pretty cool. And they've advanced it from when I first found out about it like 5 years ago. But it's, again, music is extremely beneficial. And most of the time I create, I'll put on that, whatever the mood I want my audience member to feel, right? If it's a mysterious effect, I might put on something like Dermot Kennedy. If it's an uplifting, like powerful Ace assembly, then I might put something on like Outcast, something upbeat, so a lot of that music is inspiration, but there are times where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be influenced by any words whatsoever.
Neutral. Wow, that was fascinating. That was very educational. I learned a whole heck of a lot. Like I said, I mean, some of the things towards the end here that we discussed is worth more than the price of admission, and it should get you guys very much in the creative mindset. Adam, it's been a blast having you. And before we go, where can viewers and listeners find out more about you?
Sure. So the easiest, if they want to get a hold of me, is just info@adamwilber.com.
Look at you getting fancy, saving me the extra post-production work. Man, look at that Stream Deck going on.
I've been doing a lot of virtual shows, and that Stream Deck is a lifesaver. So, but that's the email you can reach me at if you want to contact me directly. But then also we have volpinecreations.com, and that is my new magic company with my partner, Felix. Felix has a master's degree in innovation. He lives in Austria and is one of the most intelligent, creative guys I've ever met. And our partnership blossomed out of natural occurrences, which were awesome. So we've got some really cool and exciting things planned over the next 12 months. And anything I put out of my own will be Volpine, which is really exciting because there's nobody saying yes or no except me and my partner, which is a new creative freedom I've never had. So really, really excited. A couple other things, you can just check me out on Instagram or Facebook. It's just Adam Wilber. I am taking a mental health break from social media for quite some time.
Good for you. Most people need that. Most people don't even know that's a thing, and they wonder why their life is so screwed up.
Yep. Or why they're sad or why they lack creativity. For me, it really is about, I'm an alcoholic personally. So I have this very addictive brain. And this very, self-centered brain. It's a disease I got to deal with, but it also,
Understood.
I'm very cautious of me comparing myself, because I'll see close friends of mine and they'll do something successful, and my first gut instinct
Yep.
is, damn it, that's a little less success for me. And I hate that, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't true. So I've been overwhelmed with magic on social media, and it's inhibited my creativity. So I'm taking a break from it.
Good.
Plus all the negativity that goes behind social media. But
Yep.
Creative break. And I try and do it once or twice a year, take a month or so off and really sit down and get creative with I won't watch magic for a month. I won't watch anyone's performance.
That's
I
good.
won't watch us. Exactly. Sometimes you need it.
Absolutely.
We see so much magic that we feel like, I say I'm speaking personally.
Sure.
I see so much that it's very hard for me to say, this will work for me, because if I see someone else do a variation of something, my brain will go, no, I don't like that, so it's not going to play. Or all my audience has seen all this. You got to keep in mind, most people have seen one, maybe two professional magicians in their whole life.
Yeah.
Because we're surrounded by magicians, we assume the whole world has seen a bunch of magic. So taking a break there anyway, but you can find me on social medias as well. But really just keep an eye on Volpine Creations. Sign up to our newsletter. We'll give you some free downloads and stuff like that. And within the next 6 months, we have 5 or 6 really, really awesome things coming out. So, and then I'm doing a penguin lecture. I'm not sure when this podcast will hit everybody, but I'm doing a penguin lecture right now. Is about the first week of April. I'm going to be filming the lecture in mid-April, and it will air probably sometime in May. So that should be cool too. I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be mostly new material on there.
And the good news with the Penguin Lectures is even after it airs, whenever it comes out, it's locked on the site. And so if people search for Adam Wilber, they can find that in the Adam Wilber section.
Exactly right. Yeah, you got it.
Good. Great. Well, this was just, like I said, so many goodies, so many things to ponder here, so much to think about that Adam has given us, not only with his time, but his knowledge and his life experience being a performer, an inventor, and a speaker. And thanks again for joining us to my podcast, Making Magic. If you've enjoyed the interview, if you enjoy this series of interviews, feel free to subscribe by clicking the red button down below. You guys know what to do. Like this video, give it a thumbs up, turn on the notification bell, or if you're just listening to the sound of our lovely voices on like Spotify or any of those podcast apps, feel free to follow the podcast, Making Magic with Shaun J. I'm just all about inspiring others by interviewing the movers, the shakers, the visionaries, and the makers. And you happen to fall into that category, Adam, and I really appreciate you joining me. And I thank you all for watching and listening. And that's Making Magic, and we'll see you guys in the next one.